Hi, Ann Cornick from Paintnporcelain. I'm here to teach beginners how to get started in China painting and also to encourage those of you that have been painting for a while to just paint along with us. Today, we're going to be starting a brand new project, which is pine cones. And there are a lot of different pine cones out there. I mean, holy cow, there's more than you can believe. If you've never subscribed to the newsletter, you can go to my website, and I will put the link to my website up there right now. And at the bottom of the main page, there's a place where you can subscribe for the newsletter. And you get first notice when it comes to getting these line drawings. I usually try to send it out to the people who subscribe first. I have a picture here. I think it's from an old Martha Stewart issue that I had. See all the different pine cones on there? There's little ones, big ones, square ones, not so square. So this is a lot of different options that you have for pine cones. And because of that, you know, you have to just pick the one you want to paint. There are nice ones and there's some that aren't so nice. So just decide what you want them to look like. Now, mine in the backyard are spruce. It's a blue spruce, and this is the way they come off. And to me, they don't have a lot of character to them. They're like almost like paper, and it almost looks like somebody just took a cut paper and just stacked it. And I kind of like the Scotch pine. I'm a sucker for a Scotch pine cone, so this is the way they look. They're much more structured, and I like the way I can paint them. I think is much easier than having to paint something little like that. So what I do when I go to design something like the stein that we're going to be doing today is I get the pine cones. You can see that this one's kind of a head-on, short, stubby pine cone. I get these pine cones from my wherever, yard or whatever I'm doing, and then I take and I turn them different ways. So on the stein that we have today, right here, let me show you. This little guy here is this pine cone. See how it looks? And then these up at the top, I turned one this way, I turned one this way, and then I overlapped them. And I just drew them. Now, I don't know if you can do that. Not everybody can. But if you can, that's a really good way to get started. And then I put the pine branches in. I went out in my yard, took pictures of pine branches because they basically look the same in just about any pine tree. And that's kind of how I did it. So I'm using a light brown. I like the warm brown green. It matches this color, the lighter on the Scotch pine. I also like the rich brown. But, you know, if you don't have these colors, whatever you have will work. I have chartreuse. I also have, down here, I have a, what is that, warm brown green. Every beginner should have like a chartreuse or a yellow green, a warm brown green, and then the third value would be the black green, which is, this is spruce, but you could use black green just as well. The spruce is really nice, though, if you have it for some reason. And then I also have here the yellow brown. Anyway, so this is what I'm going to be working on. And this is the pine cones. Now, the way I do my pine cones is I have individual, and you can see them here, these little individual parts of the pine cone. And I'm going to flip it upside down, and I'm going to paint the dark on here first. And I'm going to start at the base of each one of these little tiny, I don't know what they're called, like almost like petals on the pine cone, but I know they probably have a proper name. But so let me show you what that means. I'm going to use my number 10. It probably seems like a very large brush to use for this. And I'm only going to side load with my rich brown, okay? And I'm going to start here at the base, and I'm just going to, let me get a little more side load on there. I want it further across my brush. There we go. Can you see what I'm doing here? Almost like when we did the center of the Well, you probably didn't see that one. The center of the wild roses. You're just using the side of your brush to add depth at the base. Now, beginners, this is a good practice for you when it comes to loading your brush, side loading your brush. So here we go, see? And I try to pull it, let me show you here. I try to pull it down between these two little, let's call them petals for lack of a better word right now, so that it separates the ones down below, but it also gives you a definition for the ones you have. So here, this is a good example. This one, I'm going to pull that dark down between those two. See how it separated these two? And then I'm just going to pull it across. Same thing here. And then as I get near the top, you have to keep loading your brush because you want it to stay a consistent darkness. It's not like you're doing shadows and that kind of thing, because if you look at a pine cone, they're all the same depth in the middle because the pine cone center is a dark brown. Okay, and then when you get up into these little guys, it's going to be more of a pull down like that. I found that on the Scotch pine that I have, the pine cones, there's 3 of those. And so that's what I've done. So this is what I have so far. Now it's starting to look like a pine cone. If you turn it this way, it really looks like a pine cone. Okay, so that's what I have so far. Now I'm going to go over, still side loading with the brown, and I'm going to do this side. And I'm going to do the same thing, but down here where they come together, I'm going to be more in the dark, not quite as, because I want to give them a little depth there where they meet. Okay. And then I'm going to start doing exactly the same thing, coming out with just the base, just the base. This is side load only, just the base. And you can kind of make it up as you go. If they don't overlap the way you want them to, you can make them overlap by just adding that extra little bit of depth there. Then these are the longer ones near the top. Let me show you on here. See how they get longer near the top? If you're looking at it from the side, they still get longer near the top. Okay. I'm going to just pull down here, pull down here, pull down here. Get a little more darkness in there. Okay. So I turn them over and I work towards myself, and that's what I end up with. Now this is first fire. I still have to define my pine cones. So let me put it down for a minute. Let me show you. These are some I did earlier. These are done with just the pine cone and the branch on the first fire, and I put some color behind them. And here I put like a shade in green and pulled it out. And I didn't do the pine needles till the second fire. Then I also worked on this vase, and here I did no background. I did the pine cones on the first fire, and I did the pine needles on the second fire. Now, I should tell you that when I thought the space would fit in my kiln, I got downstairs and it wouldn't, so I had to only paint half at a time and lay it on its side. So that's one of the reasons why it looks like this side's lighter, but it's had more fires because I just finished this side. This was my second fire. It still needs at least another fire. Debating whether to do background. I have to do this, and then I'm going to put gold on it. So let's see how that goes. Okay. So now I'm taking my lighter color, which is my lighter brown. I'm side loading it, holding it so it's not upside down. The pine cones face forward. And I'm just adding a little bit to the tips. You could also use a little bit of yellow brown. I might do that just so you can see better, see? There. Now I'm not done. This is just the next step. So I'm just touching it on the ends to give it a little more color. I don't even know if you can see that very well. Can you see that? Yeah, I guess you can. And then I'm going to do the same thing on this side. I'm just going to add a little yellow on the very edge. Now, I would normally go with the light brown, but I know you can't see the light brown, so that's why I'm using yellow brown. And I'm just side loading, but just touching the edge of each one of these, or just about every one of these, very carefully. Okay, done with that. Now I'm going to take my Pinecones, and I'm going to start giving it a little more character at the ends. So I'm going to start down here. I'm going to scooch over, come a little closer for you, and what you want to do is create that same that same white edge or lighter edge that Mary had on hers. Oh, am I still in the way? Here, let me move on. You kind of use the side of the Pinecones. You don't always have to do that complete little V. You can just do half of it if that's what you think you'll see there. Oop, I'm sorry, I'm in the way again. Let's get this one up here. And then on these, I do the side of them just to give it a little, and then you can go back and you can do the side of a few of these just to separate them out, give them a little more highlight, a little more separation. And can you see the difference between this pine cone now and this pine cone? This one has a little more of the definition on the end. I use the side of the Pinecones. I use like this much up here. I don't use the tip. The tip would be way too small. Okay, and we're going to do the same thing here. I'm going to go back upside down because I like the upside down. And I'm just going to take off a little of the edge. Some of them I do the full thing, some of them I just do a flat. It's whatever you feel like doing. They'll give you some of the effect that you want. Let me hold it at the top there. And then on these, I come down the side, maybe the side here. A side there. I'm going to do this here. This one back here could use a little there. And maybe this one right here. Okay? And then I'm going to flip it over and look at it. That one's more in the background, so it's going to be a little more blurred. And I can even take my eraser and just tap it a little, just to put it back in the background a little more. I could go on and paint all of these. This one is a little bit different though. I'd like to just do this one if we have some time here. This is the one that's face on. So he has a different look to him. And with this one, the darkness is in the center, which means it's in the center down at the base here. So let me get a little oil on here. I'll show you what I would do with him because he's just a little different. I'm going to start it with the outside. And I'm just going to paint the center. I'm going to turn it over. Paint this center here. Oh, lost my paint. Here we go. This center here. Ah, I still don't have it. There we go. I know I've got it on there now. This center here. This center here. Then I'm going to go behind it and do these. And this one, I paint towards the center because that's where it's going to be the darkest. The base towards the center. This guy's fighting me. Reload him. Maybe that'll help. Okay, here. Oh. There we go. And you've got to be careful to leave the one below with some white on it because that's going to be the white part or the lighter part. So you do paint a little bit differently. You're painting towards yourself, but you're painting only the bottom of the little, whatever it is, petal, but you're also painting it. Let me do this guy here. You're also painting it gently so that you just get the color where you want it. Okay. Then if you want, you can go back. I'm still using my 1/4 inch brush here. Get a little yellow brown and touch the edges just like we did before. This one's a little more in the foreground, so if you want to make it a little brighter, you can. Can you see how I'm doing that? So that's the way it looks so far. Oops, there you go. And then I'm going to take my Pinecones, and in this case, I'm going to kind of almost wipe some of the tops. But I'm just going to wipe them flush because you really don't see, if you look at this, you only see the tops. You don't really see the edge so much. And I'm also going to do the sides so I know where they are. There we go. Now I'm going to pull a little bit of this brown out because to me the edge is not, I would like the edge more brown. Not so much that yellow. I don't like that yellow myself. Oh, I know what I can do. I can use my warm brown gray and do it. But I'm going to go around and pull it from the center out just to soften it. Can you see what I'm doing here? Here. Okay, so here's a real good example right here. And I'm just going to pull it out a little. There we go. And now I'm just going back in and because I lost a little bit of this, I'm just putting a little bit more of this back in. Okay, so that's that little guy. Now, if you want to add the pine needles on this time, you can. And I prefer it. I prefer to add the lightest of the pine needles this time. So what I would do is take my liner. I'm using Mary Ashcroft's method, although I'm using mineral spirits and not turpentine. She uses turpentine because it dries fast. Mineral spirits to me dry equally fast. You're going to want to take, of course, some brown. Let's do this first. You can use your light brown with a mixture of your dark brown, and you're going to start putting in these branches. At least enough so you know where they are. You can always fine-tune them later. Don't try to do everything on the first fire. All right. That gives you an idea of what I would do for the background here. I'm just going to do the stems. Okay. Now, straight turpentine, or if you're one of those mineral spirits people like me, because nobody can stand the smell of turpentine these days, you're going to dip in the turpentine, wipe it off a little on your towel, and go into the chartreuse and really get a lot on your brush. And you're just going to start and decide where you want these needles to be and pull. Let me do this one upside down so you can see. And if it's not pulling right, go back in and get a little more. There we go. This one's a little too long. You can always adjust that with your finger or Q-tip. Then I'm going to go into, say, the warm brown green and do the same thing. It's a flicking motion to get these on there. And then down here, if I wanted it, do it the same. Switch over to a different color. This one I'm going to pull it out. It is a flicking motion, but I don't want it to get down here, so I will wipe it off down there. And you can have a little on the edge of some of these branches, like here. I need more turpentine or stuff there. There we go. Generally with these, less is more. Just put a few in. That's a darker green. That's the spruce green. So here's how I did those little guys so far. Now, the last thing I would do is take my Pinecones, go on these, bring it real close so you can see, and just with the very tip of it, if I can. I don't want to use the side if I can help it. I want to stick to the tip because you want it to be fine. You'll also find you can redirect some of your paint by using this. It's better if you do it away from you instead of towards you with the Pinecones. And then just pick sporadic areas on the branches where you want to put these. And if need be, you can always look at pictures of. Also, there's a ton of studies on my site. So, you know, if you haven't done anything in a while and you want to go back and just see what's out there, remember they all have links to both YouTube and Facebook. You can either watch the Facebook Live again, and you just click on the link. If you have it electronically, save it electronically, and then use your computer while you're painting, and you can click on the link. It'll take you right to the tutorial, and I paint right along with you. If you don't like all the chit chat, then you can look at the YouTube if it's out there. I did this as a stein, but you could take bits and pieces of this and when you download it and put it on plates or whatever you want to do. You could even shrink this, remember, and put it on an ornament if you need to do it on an ornament. I wanted to do a stein because I haven't done a rounded piece, and I thought this would be important to see how you work on a rounded piece for the new painters that are out there. So, okay, well, pick up those brushes, keep painting. I will see you next time. I hope you enjoyed the program, and I hope you'll take a minute to subscribe so that other people can learn more about China painting and we can get the word out to more people. You also can look at the links below. My Paintnporcelain.com website has a lot of freebies and printables for new and experienced painters, as well as studies, supplies, and even some of my hand-painted china. So thank you again, and I'll see you next time.